of their wealth to charity when they die. And Warren Buffett's committed 99%. Companies like that would be the ones I admire most. Anybody else? Okay. Life after DePaul. So any seniors here? Raise your hand. Yeah. You interviewing? Got a resume? Working it? Who's landed a job? Morgan. Where's Morgan? She said hi before. Ernst & Young, Detroit, right? Okay. Anybody else? Great. Anybody else? Yes? I'm sorry? Okay. All right, so any juniors here already know what you're going to be doing when you get out? All right. So here's what I've done. The big fat dumpy guy, I mean, I've learned a lot along the way, so I just want to be able to share with you some different things. And, you know, I think at great universities like DePaul and at business schools, they teach you a lot about different things. And I know it's not a graduate school and business school here, but I think in terms of, you know, for those management fellows who are taking business courses, et cetera, teach you a lot about advertising, finance, marketing, business ethics, principles of leadership. Let me ask you, who wants to get into marketing when they get out of here? Raise your hand. Raise them high. Finance? Any finance people? Yeah, finance. It's all about the money. How about, anybody want to be a president or CEO or an entrepreneur? Raise your hand. Teachers? How many want to be a salesman? Got a couple of it. Well, I would submit to you that nothing happens till somebody sells something. And I see a lot of schools that don't really focus on sales. Nothing happens in business till somebody sells something. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better be able to sell your product, your idea, your passion to consumers, to investors, to creditors. You want to get extended terms when you're struggling a little bit. So you got to learn how to sell. And I think there's three kinds of people in this world. People that make things happen, people who watch things happen, and people who wonder what happened. And to be successful in this changing age, you better be able to make things happen. And I would submit to you that you can do it if you have a dream. I'm all about dreams, gang. I'm all about dreams. Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. I believe a dream is just a dream until you write it down. But it all starts with a dream. And so I'm going to just share with you some different things. Let me show you. Anybody recognize anybody up here? Give me a shout out a name if you recognize one. 50 Cent. All right, 50 Cent. Okay, who else? Howard Schultz. Very good. Lloyd. Yep. Anybody else? Anybody know this lady right here? Ursula Burns, the CEO of Xerox. Who's this lady? According to Fortune, the richest African American woman on the planet. Anybody know who this is? God bless him. Sean Puffy. Anybody recognize this gentleman here? Chris Gardner. Anybody now know the name? Will Smith. In Pursuit of Happiness. He was on the street. So what do these guys all have in common? According to MSN, these highly successful people all came from really, really humble or desperate circumstances, which probably explains a lot the origins of why they were so successful. They became skilled at selling themselves and their ideas. So take Steve Jobs. God bless him. God rest his soul. Passed away in October. Started Apple with Steve Wozniak in ¡76. They fired him in 1985. The man who started they fired him. Didn't think he was doing it. He wasn't playing ball. And Apple then went forward and struggled. And so they brought him back. And maybe it's because he went through that difficult transition. He left Reed College in Portland when he was in college, was living in a homeless shelter, had to walk 7 miles to a Hare Krishna temple to be able to get a free meal. So you want to talk about humble beginnings. I put under there that life is not in holding good cards, gang. It's in playing well those you are dealt. All these other people, you can kind of read about them. James Jackson III, 50 Cent, was a drug dealer at the age of 12, shot 9 times, and now he's a billionaire doing things, okay? I mean, all these people came from humble beginnings. Howard Schultz came from the projects in Brooklyn, as did Ursula Burns. Sheldon Addison, sorry, that should be 1D. He was son of immigrants in Dorchester, now is part of $23 billion of the Sands Corporation. So again, life is not in holding good cards. It's playing well those who are dealt. I think there's been a lot of really smart people who passed this way before, and many of them had dreams. And they've tried to leave their impact on us, and sometimes we listen and sometimes we don't. John Quincy Adams, if your actions inspire others to become more, dream more, learn more, and do more, then you are a leader. Every man's life ends the same way. It's only the details of how he lived and how he died that distinguishes what we think we become, said Buddha. Stand often in the company of dreamers, for they believe you can do impossible things. Marianne Rodmacher. A man who has no imagination, said Muhammad Ali, has no wings. Let your dreams bind your work to your play. Confucius said, choose a job you love. You'll never have to work a day in your life. Pursue what you love, and the money will follow. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, said Eleanor Roosevelt. And let your heart guide you. It whispers, so listen closely. And then we need each other along the way. Very few people, I mentioned, a great leader doesn't build a business, a great manager builds an organization. All right, no man is wise enough by himself. We make a living by what we get, said Churchill. We make a life by what we give. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and the optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. And I love Mark Twain. Great people are those who make others feel that they too can become great. So, lessons I've learned along the way. I mentioned about finding a job. You never have to work a day in your life. If you think you're too big to do the little job, trust me, you're too little to do the big job. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're also right. Goals are key. You got to write them down. I love that, Bobby Knight, everyone has the will to win, but few have the will to prepare to win. What's your plan? Juniors out there, what's your plan to get the job of your dreams now? How many credits are you taking? Do you do it in credits or courses here? How does it work? How many credits are you taking this semester? Okay, so 4 courses or classes. Anybody else? How many taking? Okay, a lot of 4s. Anybody not taking 4? Anybody taking 5? You taking 5? Okay. Anybody taking 6? Oh, you can't. Oh, okay, that's right. Because there's probably the university's got laws about that. I submit to you, you need to enroll in another course right now, and that course is finding the career of your dreams. If you spend 8 hours on studying it in your dorm room or your house on your core courses, why don't you work in your schedule 1 hour, 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, where you focus specifically on your career, on your opportunity, on researching the companies that you're really involved in, on developing a business plan for your success. Marry up with somebody who's got similar aspirations as you do. Hold each other accountable for staying on track. Trust me, if you do that now, when it gets time to be able to interview for jobs, etc., you're going to be a lot more prepared. There's no substitute for education, but also there's no substitute for respect. What I love about Green Mountain is our ethics. Respect is built up through hundreds of positive deeds and destroyed by one stupid one. Ask Roger Clemens. Ask Barry Bonds. Ask Elliot Spitzer. Many young people, the first thing that comes to mind when you say Bill Clinton is not 8 years of his presidency that were war-free and a booming economy and low unemployment. Another image comes to mind. Integrity retained is invaluable. Integrity once lost is doggone near irretrievable. Michael Vick, $100 million contract, lost it all, pit bull fighting, you know the story. Did 3 years in jail, paid his time, paid a heavy, heavy dues. He's come back, he's now a spokesman for ASPCA, but still, yesterday, he was rated as the most despised professional athlete. So just remember this, we all have that voice inside of us. It whispers softly to us sometimes, and sometimes it's screaming to us. When you're going 65, 70 miles an hour and that phone rings or that text comes through, you compelled that you got to answer that text? All right, when you've had a couple of pops or something like that and you feel like driving, should you be doing that? I'm going to speak Saturday night at a dinner in Los Angeles where an 18-year-old rugby player was in a car with 3 other people. They were coming back from a party, going real high speed on a freeway. The car turned over, got hit by a tractor trailer. He was burned over 85% of his body. He's had 43 operations, and he had a 1% survival rate. Now, he's making it back, but his life was changed forever. 2 people died in that crash. Listen to that voice inside of you, gang. It's important. Be careful what you think. Your thoughts become your words. Be careful what you say. Your words become your actions. And be careful what you value. your values become your actions. And I would add, be careful what you do. Your actions become your reputation. And again, I just list some people right there that are people that are in the know, whose long-term legacies have been tarnished by things that they either did or did not do. And the late, great Joe Paterno, God bless him, and won more games. But now people are associating him with that he should have done more as opposed to all that he did do for so many young people. We were born of a vision. If you don't know where you're going, it really doesn't matter much where you end up. And if you don't know where you're going, how you know you're going to arrive when you get there? We had very clear vision of what we wanted to be. We didn't want to create our own coffee brand. We wanted to be the delivery system for coffee brands that people already know, love, and pay a premium for, and we wanted to deliver to them one cup at a time. All right, so we had a plan, and if you're going to start a business, plan to have at least twice as much capital that you're planning. You're going to have challenges, and we'll talk about that in a second. And remember this, gang. No doesn't mean no, I don't want to buy from you. No, I don't want to buy your idea. No just means you haven't given me enough reasons to say yes. No is when the sale begins. How do you anticipate objections when you're going in looking for financing? If you've got an issue with a professor on a grade and a thing that you did, do you really think about how that professor is responding, what the reason was for that, so that you anticipate? All right? Make sure that you anticipate and understand that no is an invitation to a dialogue if you're prepared for it. We had a vision, three of us. Martin Luther King Day, 14 years ago, I started off with 12 brewers and 40 cases of handmade K-Cups with my kids had made, and I went to New York City with a two-wheeler and started banging on doors. So it's been kind of a fun story. These are the quotes I talked about, vision. And we have a vision. Our vision now, it's evolved, is a green mountain, because we're not just about coffee now. It's not just about the coffee. Our vision now is a Keurig on every counter and a beverage for every occasion. And how many of you have Keurigs that you know of in your home? All right, it's a beautiful thing. So, you know, we have responsible business practices, and again, we want to create and maximize shareholder value, but we want to give back and we want to be a great place to work. Difficulties along the way. I think this lady said it right. She said to enjoy the beauty of a rainbow, Dolly Parton said, sometimes you got to put up with a little bit of rain. It's going to storm. There's going to be challenges. One of our competitors, Tassimo, just this morning announced a product recall. Stuff happens. Anybody remember the Tylenol tampering problem? Rely tampons? Great product, had to be totally pulled from the marketplace. All right, so there's going to be challenges along the way. You've got to make sure that you prepare for those and have your contingency plans in place. Tough times never last, but tough people do. And just remember this, anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm. You ought to get to know who you are first. Peter Drucker's got a great thing on the Harvard Business Review called Manage Oneself. Are you a listener? Are you a talker? Are you a thinker? Are you an artist? So if you learn how you communicate, you can learn better how to communicate with others, because you're going to understand that we're all different. How many times in relationships you see a husband and a wife going at it when they're not really listening from the others, they're not really listening with generous listening from the other person's point of view. I think if you read this and learn who you are, you can better prepare for communicating with other people, and trust me, it will help you not just in your goals professionally, but in your personal relationships. So think about the questions you want to ask yourself. What are your dreams, your strengths, your weaknesses? What's your passion? What kind of work do you want to do? What are you trained to do? How much money do you want to make? How much money do you need to make? I've got a spreadsheet that shows you that if you're not making $56,000 a year when you walk out this door, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to pay your bills. Between rent, insurance, food, and that doesn't even include social time. So think about, if you're planning out, what do you want to make? What do you need to make to live where you want to live? And the road to success is rarely smoothly paved. Anybody recognize this guy? Joe Girard, born into poverty in Detroit. At the age of 9, he was shining shoes, started a paper out at 11, was kicked out of school, arrested for breaking and entering, kicked out of the Army, got a couple of jobs, got married, and at the age of 35, he could not feed his family. He was broke. He was $60,000 in debt. Got a guy to hire him as a car salesman, and then got fired, and they convinced another Chevy dealer to hire him. And he convinced him, you know, you go to a car dealership, you go and it's like, whoever's on deck as a salesman gets to come up to you and hey, can I help you? Are you looking for a car today? Or maybe it's a senior person or not. Joe Girard said, I won't take anybody off of the floor room. I will bring people in, and that's how I'll sell cars. Well, Joe Girard went on to become the #1 salesperson of high-end appliances or cars or goods according to the Guinness Book of World Records. He sold 13,001 cars out of a car dealership outside of Detroit. He averaged 6 new car sales a day, 21 on his best day, and he's written books about it. And you know how he did it? Customer intimacy. If you ever had a meeting with Joe Girard, much less bought a car, if you ever met him, you got a card from him once a month. Handwritten card, Ramadan, Hanukkah, Easter, Veterans Day. He knew if your son was playing football. He knew if your daughter was on the soccer team or on the number 4 ranked DePaul women's team. And you would get cards. You would get all kinds of things from Joe Girard. He stayed so close to his customers, he never had to advertise. When you wanted to buy a new car and your friends knew about it, they'd say, hey, dude, you got to go see Joe Girard. So I think about people like Joe Girard. If he can turn his life around at the age of 35 and become the best in the world in something, we can do too. And I thought, you know, I've learned a lot along the way. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I don't want you to repeat them. So, the coffee man, I'm going to give you my top 10 tips for realizing your dream. Number 10, we're no better. Look at this room. Look at the handsome and beautiful young people that are in this room. Look at the intellect. Look at the grade point averages. But we're no better. I tell my children, you better be nice to the nerds in school because you're probably going to be working for one someday. We need to celebrate diversity. And each of us, each of you, can help address an epidemic problem in the world today, and that's bullying. The pressure on our young people in middle schools and high schools is so severe with all of the Facebook and Twitter and everything that's going on. Each of us has got a responsibility to volunteer and go and be a big brother, big sister to those people. All right? And just be nice to the people that you meet on the way up because you never know who you're going to run to on the way down. All right? I tell, you know, high school students, you know, that iPod or that iPhone that you can't live without, who do you think developed that? A linebacker? No, it was probably the science kid that you sat next to that you made fun of. Oh, and the Abercrombie Fitch jacket that mom paid $150 for you, who do you think designed that? First baseman? It was probably the gay kid that you sat next to that you did not stick up for when people made fun. This world works because we're different. It would be really boring to have a world of Chris Stevenses out there. Think about the artistry. I was in downtown Indianapolis looking at that center, that circle, and the architecture stuff, and I think, gosh, all the engineers and science people who designed this, so we are no better. Father Hesburgh, where I went to Notre Dame, had a great line once. He said, the greatest gift you can give your children is not necessarily your time. The greatest gift you can give your children is to love their mother. Not all relationships work out, I get that, but that's no substitute for being respectful and loving to somebody that you used to be married with or to a partner with, because children develop their feeling about relationships from what they see in front of them. Integrity retained, invaluable. Integrity once lost is irretrievable. Number 7, aim high, soaring, aim low, boring. Set your goals. When you get out of bed, if you write down at night what you want to achieve the next day, when you get out of bed in the morning, you have a whole different purpose and sense of energy, as opposed to waking up saying, oh, let's see, what I got to do today. Think about setting your goals. Shoot for the moon, said Les Brown, because even if you miss, you'll still be among the stars, and don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do, said a great Hoosier, John Wooden. Number 7, respect your coworkers and friends. How many times have you been in a restaurant, somebody drops a tray, and the manager comes over and reams her out right there in front of everybody? All right? Praise in public, correct in private. When you get to positions of leadership, catch people doing things right. Lead by walking around and noticing. Be involved in all elements of the business or the enterprise that you're engaged in. I remember when President Reagan succeeded President Carter worked 16, 18 hours a day in the White House. They said he was the hardest working president ever. President Reagan came in and had breakfast with Nancy, lunch with Nancy, cocktails with Nancy. He'd be in the White House 6, 8 hours a day, and yet the economy started booming. And they say, President Reagan, how do you do it? He said, the secret of my success is finding good people, giving them the skills to get the job done, and then getting out of the way and letting them do it. So don't try to micromanage everything. Number 6, never stop learning. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. So, I mean, do cooks stop learning once they buy a restaurant? Think about it. As you develop your skills with the cloud coming and all the kinds of new things, you better understand. I think about Blockbuster Video. Wasn't there one on every corner? Where are they now? All right, so you better get involved in something that can either be sustainable or where you can change with the times. Number 5, businesses like golf. It's a follow through that counts. Write stuff down. Write handwritten cards. Be the Joe Girard of your world. And do not squander time, for that is what life is made of. And for you young people, How many of you have a will? Raise your hand. How many of you have life insurance? Raise your hand. Okay. How about everybody got wills over there? Okay. How many of you have a notebook? A notebook, do you? Okay. A notebook in which, as you grow old, as you get a relationship and you have a family, have one place where something tragic should happen to you, somebody can go and find the life insurance policies, the bank accounts, the stocks, the mortgage statement on the house, the insurance policies, your will, what you want things to done. When tragedy strikes, and I had two buddies that got on a plane on September 11th, 10 years ago, and neither one of them had this. And both of their states were really in tough shape. Have something where someone can go and be able to take care of what you want to have done. Have the notebook. Number 4, it's never too early to start creating your legacy. And I always say it's important. Maintain a balance in life. I find it hard sometimes when certain athletic programs, the coaches are so rigid. It's this sport, 12 months out of the year, and you go to high schools and they're practicing. The balance is what it's all about, okay? I've never seen it on a tombstone. I wish I spent more time at the office. Make sure that your employees get time off, to spend time and coach Little League and do the things necessary to make them well-rounded people. Number 3, on to the less fortunate. Anybody from the Boston area here? All right, well, I don't know about you, but there's an intersection in Boston. It's called Storrow Drive. And when you come up Storrow Drive and you want to get on the Mass Pike by the Charles River there, the Doubletree Hotel's right there, there's always a homeless person there. And I've gotten to know him personally, and sometimes it changes. But I watch people waiting for the light to change, rolling up their windows. Are you kidding me? He's homeless. How about you get out of your car, introduce yourself, ask him his name, give him a $5 bill and say, "Sir, God bless you, you got hope today." Be nice to the people that you meet on the way up, because you never know who you're going to run to on the way down. That could be us someday. And when we do the right thing for those who are less fortunate, as volunteer for seniors, trust me, you're going to feel like a cleanly washed car. You ever notice how a car seems to run better right after you take it through the car wash? That's the way it is with your soul too. So that's number 3. Number 2, serve your country somehow. Any veterans in here? The blank, any veterans? Bob? The blanket of freedom that we have today that's been provided has been provided by those who are willing to serve. Now, not all of us can go in and actually serve in the military. I get that, but there's things that we can do. I lost my wife to cancer about 7 years ago, and both my brothers the same year to a disease called Huntington's disease, genetic neuromuscular, and it was a tough year. And it was tough on my kids. I had 5 kids, and 4 of them were teenagers at the time. And my one son, the next year, went off to UMass Amherst. And I know he was a tough kid, 5'7", 150-pound nose tackle. But he went to UMass Amherst, partied hard, but did well in school. And he came home at Christmas time and said, "Dad, our country's at war, and I've decided that a lot of people have to go into the military because they don't have a way out of the circumstances. We do pretty well. So I've decided I'm going to go into the Marine Corps and serve my country. And when I get out, the GI Bill will pay for my education. Then all that money that you saved up for me, I get it, right?" And so I said, "Well, you serve your country, and I'll help you out." So he went to the Corps. He will get a disability check for the rest of his life. He served with honor. He's okay, but he was hit. And when you're a parent or a loved one of somebody who's in harm's way, you always worry about that phone call, that knock on the door. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite movies, Saving Private Ryan. Remember the beginning of the movie? The secretaries kind of notice there's not one, there's 2, there's 3 Ryan brothers that have been KA'd. And so they bring it to the major, to the colonel, the 1-star. It finally comes to General Marshall, head of the European theater. And they say, "Hey, General, after the 5 Sullivan brothers were killed in the Southeast Asia, the policy changed where 3 siblings were killed and there's another one, we take him out and send him home." But he parachuted in with 101st into Normandy, and we have no idea where he's at. But we wanted you. He said, "No, we're going to find the boy." They said, "No, General, you don't understand. We have no idea where he's at. It's chaos over there." He said, "We're going to find that boy and we're going to bring him home." You remember what he did? He reached in, he says, "I want to read you something." He pulled out a letter. And that letter said, "I haven't shown in the files of the War Department a letter from the Adjutant General of Massachusetts that you are the mother of 5 sons who died gloriously on the field of battle. I feel how weak and fruitless must be any words of mine which should attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tending to you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of the nation that they died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and leave you only the cherished memory of the loved and the lost, and the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom." Abraham Lincoln wrote that letter to Mrs.